Good afternoon. This is Greg Myers, and this is the budget meeting for the January 18th edition of the AU Chronicle. I have already followed all the instructions that were listed. The website/blog for the AU champion is now online at the Google Drive. I will go ahead by Sunday, obviously, publish that the way that I'm supposed to for contributions. As for my own contributions, as the editor and sole writer, for the homepage, the description of the website, this is where looking to really nail down what the mission statement of the publication will be. And for it, what I've come up with is that this AU Chronicle that is going to be distributed to our audience within the student body is going to aim to be a San Diego and military-friendly publication. Obviously, the campus is in San Diego. 25% of the population is military and is co-located with the Marine bases throughout all the area, as well as several Navy bases that are in the San Diego area. So there is a large demographic that is military, and obviously in San Diego. Going to focus on local news with the idea that to try to keep up with the mega mediums that are doing the national news and the big news, that we're just not going to do it as well as them. We're not going to keep up. And the people that are, in our demographic and our audience, they're mainly consuming the media through the phones and tablets and everything that are connected to the internet. And they're going to find the people that are much better than me or us that are better at reporting the national news. So we're going to really hone in on what's happening local. Also, at the same time, I'm going to surround it with health, fitness, and sports news across America, as being a Marine officer myself for 15 years. And knowing the people that I've served and worked with this entire time, I know those particular subjects, health, fitness, and sports, are important to the military. And that obviously is not exclusive to just the military. Those are things that people just like in general. So outside of the local news, we will branch out into those areas. As far as a writer biography for me, I will get this published on the site and then published in due time as well. But for me, officer of the United States Marine Corps and current Ashford student, my bylines are that I've been published in the American Legion Online and in Power, Speed, Endurance, which is another online fitness website. I was born and raised in Indiana, and I now live in Temecula, that is located between Los Angeles and San Diego. There will be two stories that we will be putting into this edition of the AU Champion. To have, as required, I brought three ideas to the table. There's a story that broke this week on New California, which is essentially the idea here. It's been founded by an independent group, but they've effectively created their own Declaration of Independence from the state of California. And they're looking to separate from the urban and shoreline areas that are much more liberal, but more democratic, and the San Francisco, Los Angeles type areas. Their main complaint is the high taxes, the poor education, and the rules that are basically set in place off that just small portion of the state of California. After reading the Declaration of Independence, they did get filmed and has been published all across the nation. They did state what the method would look like. It's going to look very similar to the separation of West Virginia from the state of Virginia. There are actual United States codes and laws that they have researched, and they know what to do and how to follow in order to actually make this happen. San Diego itself is in the New California. I don't have any interviews nailed down yet, but I have lived here since 2005, so I will be able to have some conversations, set up some interviews, talk with a few people, see what their thoughts are, and whether if this actually became a real thing, what would happen, what would be the public's opinion on it specifically. And although it's a long shot, but if it does happen, and if it doesn't happen, most of the students will be gone. A lot of the military members will still be here. So even though it won't apply directly now, it could have ramifications later. And it is kind of a quirky news story that people do like. The second story is a little bit more of a national one. It gets away a little bit from the mission statement, but it does still apply, with Dr. Larry Nassar of USA Gymnastics being convicted of the sexual abuse of over 140 different girls throughout his time as the USA Gymnastics doctor and Michigan State University doctor. Finding an interview for this would be difficult. This story may be the one that ends up being cut, just because it's a good story. And it's absolutely worth consideration just because of the impact that it has. And then also talking about the momentum behind the Me Too, the hashtag Me Too movement that is going on in America right now. I don't think anyone would disagree that these types of things need to be shouted from the mountaintop. And if we could find a corner of the publication to do it and make it apply to our audience, we should be able to try and find a way to do it. Also, at the same time, after we've gotten through all the facts and the nitty gritty of the story and the just regular reporting, I would like to add a short PSA for what to do for those in our audience and demographic that are women, and that this may affect. Story idea 3 does hit home, so it'll probably be story idea number 1 or number 3, but definitely going to keep number 2 on the table. But that's going to be flu deaths have hit an all-time high in San Diego County. This obviously sticks with our health theme, sticks with San Diego, and applies directly to just every human being on the planet, and specifically San Diego, as this is the first time in its history that it has gone this high. Right now, flu deaths are up to 142 this season in San Diego County. Most of the deaths are 65 or older. 90% of those deaths were illnesses. 90% of those deaths were people that had other illnesses at the time that the flu struck. That contributed to their deaths. So those are some of the facts going along with it. This one, getting the interview was pretty simple. Lieutenant Cazzoli, she is a doctor in the United States Navy. A good friend of mine. I've already interviewed her. I emailed her some questions regarding, why should you get a flu shot? In layman's terms, what does a flu shot do? And she has emailed me back those answers. So, and has agreed to let me publish them in this prestigious publication of the AU Champion. So I'm going to do a little bit more research on all 3 stories. It's looking like story 1 and story 3. But story number 2 is on the table. It just may be a little bit too big for our publication. And that concludes this final budget meeting of the AU Champion. Thank you. And going offline.